The story begins outside the Briarwood supermarket in the small town of Rose Hill, where something unexpected is about to unfold. Lena Bruce, a 22-year-old confident and poised young woman, walks out of the store with bags in hand. As the daughter of Mayor Robert Bruce, the most powerful man in town, Lena has always walked through life with a sense of privilege, knowing that her father's influence can get her out of almost any situation. She's known for getting her way, even with the local police. But today, things take a sharp turn. Lena spots Officer Kent, a no-nonsense cop who's always been firm but fair, chatting casually with the store clerk. Lena, with her usual confidence, approaches him with a challenge that will soon push her entitlement to its limits. What happens when privilege and entitlement meet the law? Let's find out. Lena Bruce has always lived under the shadow of her powerful father, Mayor Robert Bruce, the most influential figure in Rose Hill. As his daughter, Lena's life has been one of privilege and entitlement, where doors open with a mere mention of her name. From a young age, she learned that her father's position gave her a special kind of power in town, one that allowed her to skirt the consequences of her actions. At school, she was known for getting into trouble and for always finding a way out, often using her father's connections to smooth things over. Whether it was avoiding disciplinary actions or bending the rules with the police, Lena had a reputation for always getting her way. People in town whispered about her, some envying her, others resenting her. But one thing was clear: Lena Bruce had the world at her feet, and she knew it. As Lena strolls out of the Briarwood supermarket, she spots Officer Kent, a well-known cop who frequently patrols the area. She sees him parked nearby, casually chatting with a store clerk. A mischievous glint appears in her eyes as she notices an opportunity to test just how far her father's influence can stretch. With a smug smile, Lena strides over to the officer and waves her hand in front of his face. "Hey, officer," she says, her tone dripping with entitlement. "I need you to fix something." Officer Kent glances up, sensing no immediate threat, and responds, "What can I help you with, Miss Bruce?" Lena's voice oozes with superiority as she demands, "You gave my friend Clara a parking ticket yesterday. I think you should revoke it." Officer Kent, calm and by the book, raises an eyebrow and replies firmly, "If your friend violated the parking rules, the ticket stands." "I'm afraid I can't do that." The air around them grows tense as Lena's patience wears thin. She isn't used to being told no, especially not by someone like Officer Kent. Her face flushes with anger, and she scoffs, "Do you know who my father is? You might want to rethink that answer." Officer Kent remains unfazed, crossing his arms and shaking his head. "I don't care who your father is, Miss Bruce. The law is the law." For a moment, the world seems to freeze. The crowd around them falls silent, unsure of what's about to happen. Without warning, Lena's anger erupts. In a flash of fury, she swings her fist, connecting with Officer Kent's face. The sound of the punch echoes through the parking lot, and the crowd gasps in shock. Officer Kent stumbles back, clutching his cheek, but quickly regains his composure. His calm demeanor evaporates, replaced by a serious, almost cold expression. The reality of the situation sinks in for everyone watching as Officer Kent pulls out his handcuffs. "Miss Bruce," he says, his voice steady but firm, "you're under arrest for assaulting a police officer." As Officer Kent cuffs Lena, the crowd around them watches in stunned silence, unable to comprehend what just happened. The shock of a powerful mayor's daughter attacking a police officer sends ripples through the community. Whispers spread like wildfire, and within moments, the news is all over town. Lena Bruce, the girl who could get away with anything, had crossed a line that even her father's influence couldn't erase. Back at Rose Hill Town Hall, Mayor Robert Bruce's phone buzzes with the breaking news, and his world comes crashing down. He stares at the screen in disbelief, struggling to process what he's reading. His daughter, the one he had always protected and shielded from the consequences of her actions, was arrested for assaulting a police officer. Panic sets in as he realizes the potential political fallout of such a scandal, especially with the upcoming election looming. Robert, a man who had built his reputation on integrity and fairness, now faces a crisis that could unravel everything he's worked for. In a desperate attempt to salvage the situation, Mayor Robert Bruce heads straight to the Rose Hill Police Department, hoping to smooth things over before the scandal spirals out of control. He meets with Chief Bradbury in his office, where the tension is palpable. Robert pleads with the chief, trying to downplay Lena's actions, suggesting that it was a momentary lapse in judgment. "It's just a misunderstanding, Brad," Robert insists, his voice strained. "Lena didn't mean to hurt anyone. Can't we resolve this quietly, without it becoming a public spectacle?" But Chief Bradbury, a man known for his integrity and commitment to the law, remains unmoved. He crosses his arms and looks Robert squarely in the eye. "I understand your position, Robert, but this isn't something we can overlook. Lena's actions were serious. She assaulted an officer. The law can't be bent. Not for anyone. Not even the mayor's daughter." Bradbury's voice is firm, and Robert realizes there's no easy way out of this. Despite his attempts to intervene, the law will take its course, and there's nothing he can do to change that. The day of the court hearing arrives, and Lena sits in the courtroom, her once confident demeanor replaced with fear and regret. Her hands tremble as she fidgets nervously, the weight of her actions finally sinking in. She glances at her father, who sits beside her, his face unreadable, offering no comfort. Across the room, Officer Kent sits silently, his face still bruised from the punch, but his expression is resolute. This is no longer a matter of privilege or power. It's about the law. When the judge calls the case, Lena's heart races as she braces for the verdict. The judge's voice rings out, cold and firm. "You are guilty of assaulting a police officer." The courtroom feels like it's closing in on her as the judge continues, sentencing her to 30 days in county jail and a $5,000 fine. The gavel strikes, sealing her fate. Lena's mind reels as the harsh reality hits her. No amount of privilege, no matter how powerful her father is, could save her from the consequences of her actions. The law had spoken, and she was no exception. As Lena is escorted out of the courtroom, her hands bound in handcuffs, the reality of her situation fully hits her. The courtroom doors slam shut behind her, and her father, once the most powerful man in town, stands there helplessly, unable to protect her from the consequences of her own actions. Robert Bruce's eyes are filled with a mix of disbelief and sorrow as he watches his daughter being led away. For the first time, the mayor of Rose Hill feels powerless, and in that moment, Lena understands something that had always eluded her. Actions have consequences, no matter who you are. No amount of influence, no privilege or title can shield someone from the price of their mistakes. As the weight of her sentence sinks in, Lena realizes that the world she had always controlled is no longer at her feet. This time, there are no exceptions, no special treatment. The law applies to everyone, and she is no different. Lena Bruce's fall from grace was swift and unforgiving. Once the confident, privileged daughter of Rose Hill's most powerful man, she quickly learned that no one, not even her father, could protect her from the consequences of her actions. When she punched Officer Kent, she crossed a line, and despite her father's best efforts to intervene, the law had to take its course. The mayor, who had always used his influence to smooth things over, found himself powerless in the face of justice. Lena's story serves as a reminder that accountability is crucial, and no amount of privilege can shield anyone from the consequences of their behavior. No one is above the law. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, subscribe for more, and turn on the notification bell for future stories.